Today I am on Myrtle Avenue in the Bushwick section of Brooklyn, New York, and we will be visiting the site of the Old Irving Theater that later became known as the Mozart Theater. The theatre opened in April of 1914, and as seen in this image, it had an adjoining aerodrome. The theatre could seat over 1,500 people, and beginning a decade earlier, following the General Slocum disaster, German immigrants had begun to settle in the surrounding areas. A link for the General Slocum video can be found in the description. The tragedy had claimed the lives of over 1,000 people from the Little Germany section of Manhattan. And following the disaster, the remaining population of Little Germany dispersed, with many of those who remained resettling in Queens. Initially, the theatre would show the American films of the time. But as the years went on, the theatre began to cater more and more towards the German-speaking audience, whom by now had grown much larger in number. By the 1930s, German knitting mills were popping up all over the Ridgewood and Bushwick area, and the German population was significantly growing in number. In fact, by the time the 1930s came around, the Irving Theater was now only showing German-language films. In 1940, the theatre was renamed to the Mozart Theater, and it continued to show German films. In fact, it wasn't just German films, but it was German propaganda films that were being shown. This lasted all through 1940 and 1941, with German films being imported and shown to American-based audiences in the numerous German-language movie theatres that occupied this area. It wasn't until 1942, just after America had entered the Second World War, when all German propaganda films were confiscated, and many of the establishments that showed them subsequently closed down, mainly because their core audience no longer had anything to watch that was of interest to them. By this time, anti-German sentiment was so strong that people and businesses started to change their names to try and mask their roots. This, of course, wasn't just in New York, but in America in general. As you can see, the former Irving Theater, and later the Mozart Theater, still stands on Myrtle Avenue in Bushwick, Brooklyn. But no films have been seen here in the last 80 years.